So we got to talk about the Trump Gaza proposal, which, look, I just start.
That's our rubble. Our bombs made it. We own it now. We demolished the area. We're going to rebuild it.
Well, it really is, right? Israel breaks it, we buy it. I guess that is the lesson to be learned. If you break it, you buy it. But the you is Israel, and then the other you has to be us. Look, man, and like I say this as somebody who just said everything I've said on the show so far, and somebody who supported Trump in this election and is just, cautiously optimistic, but incredibly hopeful about what could actually be accomplished in this administration. I do not think this plan is going to happen. I think it is almost inconceivable that he could actually get Egypt and Jordan to take in the Palestinians from Gaza. But I to be clear here, this is about as awful a proposal as any president could make. And this is part of what's so horrible about it is that it has the potential to ruin all these other positives. Like if Donald Trump actually were to try to go through with something like this, this could really sink his administration. It could plunge America into another just catastrophic quagmire. And it could undo all of the good things he's done and all of the potential good things that he could do with this high approval rating and this new mandate and all the energy behind the Trump administration. So, man, I don't think this is actually going to happen. I think this is kind of a Trump first, whatever. It's like the way his mind works is that he's a real estate developer. So he goes, oceanfront property, money could be made off this. He's floating out an idea that I think he believes is going to put pressure on the other Arab nations. But even that is just terrible because that's not really who needs pressure put on them. Like the idea that you're pressuring any of these other countries, look, even someone said to me, when I was trashing this idea on Twitter, and someone said to me, no, Dave, what he's really doing is putting pressure on Saudi Arabia to come to the table now and to negotiate in good faith. It's like, dude, go look at Saudi Arabia's proposed peace plan. It was totally reasonable already. They took the same. I mean, it's pretty easy to propose a peace plan in this region because the same plan has been on the table so many times before, which is what? 67 borders, like a two-state solution. Like, you guys have to stop occupying Palestine. Palestine has to stop suicide bombing people in Israel. Like, that is everybody knows what the solution is. But the idea that people are saying, which is what seems to me to be the most common defense of this insane proposal that Donald Trump floated out, which is like, got to try something new, got to shake it up. The status quo hasn't been working. It's like, okay, well, I agree with you on that. What exactly is the status quo? Oh yeah, the status quo is unconditionally supporting Israel in no matter what they want to do. Now, even if what they want to do is against what the president wants them to do, they'll still get their check in the mail. They'll still get their bombs in the mail. I don't think you send bombs by mail, but you get my point. That's been the status quo. So you want to shake things up and try something new? Okay, how about America not funding Israel anymore? That's something new. How about a Palestinian state? That would be something new. So don't just just to shake things up and try something new doesn't mean we will go ethnically cleanse the Palestinians out of Palestine for you, Israel, since that's been your goal all along. It's like, oh, I don't know, I'm all for, I saw when Michael Knowles was defending it the other day, and he said that, he goes, well, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And it's like, yeah, okay, but that doesn't mean that the definition of sanity is you just suggest anything that's different than the same thing. Yes, if you have a headache and you take Advil every single day and the headache won't go away, then yeah, take an Advil the next day and thinking the headache is going to go away maybe is a little bit insane to think the same thing is going to work this time when it hasn't worked. But that doesn't mean hitting yourself in the head with a hammer is a great proposal. You know what I mean? Just because it's different doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And no, this would be, oh my God, first of all, the idea, it's so not based in reality. The idea that you're going to get Egypt and Jordan to take in the Palestine. By the way, one thing you might have noticed from the press conference, Rob, is that Trump said all of them, and he said either 1.6 or 1.7 million. Which, by the way, the latest numbers were that there were 2.3 million people in Gaza. And so Just saying, I don't know exactly where he got these numbers from, but I've always said from the very beginning of this that the people who were arguing over whether the Ministry of Health's numbers were accurate or inaccurate, that this was all a complete like non-point, and that if you just look at what Israel's doing here and you look at the population density and you look at the number of bombs that they've dropped, that there are going to be hundreds of thousands of people who die as a result of this. And it's a lot of them die, which is what always happens in war. A lot of them die from secondary effects. You know, like they don't necessarily die because a bomb dropped right on top of them and killed them. They might die because they couldn't get medical treatment because all the medical resources have been exhausted due to the war. You know what I mean? Like you blow up hospitals, people die for unrelated reasons. And so anyway, it's an interesting window into what the real numbers are there. But Donald Trump makes the point that, these other countries will take them and then we can go in there and build up big. But look, here's the bottom line. How are you going to make them leave? I mean, they've stayed through all of this. They've stayed through decades and decades and decades of brutal occupation, of brutal blockades. How are you going to make them leave? And if the U.S. owns it, as Donald Trump said, we're taking it over, the assumption would be that we have to make them leave. So you're saying what? We're going to send the U.S. military in to now fight a war with Hamas? Something that Israel's been unable to eliminate Hamas by all intelligence reporting. So what, we're going to take that on now? And also, is there any thought at all to like understanding that this has been at the center of the Muslim world's beef with America? Like this is the reason why we've had to deal with the Al-Qaeda problem, why we had to have this terrorism issue to begin with. Do you have any idea like how much that will increase if we were to actually go in and just transparently, nakedly finish the ethnic cleansing for Israel? It's a disastrous proposal. And I truly hope it ends soon. Like they're even entertaining this. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to this, Rob.
It seems particularly cruel. And for as much as I fought back on the sanctity of borders and Putin talk, because of all the things we've been doing in the world. And there was, I think we provoked him and,
sure.
we're moving a military close to him. But the idea of Israel being able to bomb its neighbors out of the territory and then just keep it seems like it shouldn't be part of the world in 2025.
Yeah. Well, listen, here's let's play here. Donald Trump did elaborate more on this for some people who were arguing with me that he wasn't saying that Palestinians would get kicked out.
Some of the things he was saying in the Netanyahu conference also, where he goes, the Palestinian people have just been unlucky and no matter how long they're going to be here, it's like he's just describing as if this was the result of an alien invasion.
But you're sitting next to the guy who did it.
Yeah.
You're sitting next to him and going, the place has been destroyed. It's unlivable. It's horrible that people have to live like that. And he's like, yeah, no, I agree. You totally should kick him out for us now.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Donald Trump, he speaks in kind of coded language, but at the same time, I know who this guy has always been, what his position on Israel has always been. I know the people that he has around him in his cabinet. And I know that Miriam Adelson, our Palestinian friend, gave him $100 million. Okay. So it's like, people are like, oh, he's not really saying this. He's saying this. It's like, it seems much more likely this is actually what he's saying. He said Gaza would be for the people of the region, but that the Palestinians would have to go.
Yeah.
So if it's not for the Palestinians, who are these people of the region that it's for? Sounds like Israelis would be the answer to that. Okay. And here, a bunch of people were arguing with me on Twitter. No. He's just saying relocate them while we clean up all the mines and then they can go back in. Well, here is Donald Trump addressing that on his Super Bowl interview with Brett Baer.
We'll build beautiful communities for the 1.9 million people. We'll build beautiful communities, safe communities. Could be 5, 6, could be 2, but we'll build safe communities a little bit away from where they are, where all of this danger is. In the meantime, I would own this. Think of it as a real estate development for the future. It would be a beautiful piece of land.
Would the Palestinians have the right to return?
Spent. No, they wouldn't, because they're going to have much better housing, much better. In other words, I'm talking about building a permanent place for them, because if they have to return now, it'll be years before you could have it's not habitable. It will be years before it could happen. I'm talking about starting to build, and I think I could make a deal with Jordan. I think I could make a deal with Egypt. We give them billions and billions of dollars a year. We'll build beautiful communities.
So, just to be clear, this is what he's saying. We'll build them big, beautiful refugee camps, and they'll love them so much. They'll love the refugee camps in Egypt so much that they will, I don't know, whatever. And I got to tell you, I also do think, for people who argue with me about this and they're like, no, this is art of the deal stuff. Well, first of all, it doesn't make any sense. He's not putting pressure on the people you'd need to put pressure on to actually get to the right deal at the end of this. And number two, I do not think there's any practical way that this can be pulled off. He can sit here and say, oh, we give foreign aid to Egypt and Jordan. That is true. And people will point out, like, they'll go, oh, well, look, Dave, he was able to threaten tariffs on Mexico and Canada and get them to send 10,000 troops each, to the border. And so, look, he's going to get these concessions out of them. I understand when people feel that way. All you're really saying is that you don't understand the region at all, and you don't understand the history, and you don't understand the issues here. And it's fine. Not everybody has to. But it is such a wildly different ask to ask Egypt and Jordan to take in nearly 2 million people than it is to ask Mexico to send 10,000 troops to their border. That is not a regime threatening request that you're asking of Mexico. Like, the Mexican government does not believe that they will fall if they put 10,000 troops on the border. But in Egypt, last time you had elections, the Muslim Brotherhood won. And then there was a military coup, and now there's a military dictatorship where they're holding that Muslim Brotherhood down. You think they're just going to take in a bunch of people from Hamas and change around those numbers? In Jordan, you have I don't know the exact percentage split right now, but it's close to 50% of the population is Palestinian. Okay? You think the Hashemites are going to bring in another 500,000 Palestinians to give a majority, or like that much more of a majority to the it's like, these are very difficult questions to ask, but or very difficult things to actually achieve. But the idea that, look, but first of all, in theory, if the people of Gaza, if we got them, like, if we gave them the option to relocate somewhere while Gaza is rebuilt and then they could move back in after, and they voluntarily wanted to do that, I'm not like necessarily opposed to that. Like, if you got Egypt on board to be like, hey, we have these facilities, they can stay here until this thing is rebuilt and then they can move back, that's one thing. But if you're actually talking about, this is just blatant ethnic cleansing. If you're saying that we're just going to, against their will, we're going to force nearly 2 million people, whatever's left of that 2 million people, we're going to force them out and then make it something for Israelis to come and live in, that's just so wrong and so not our responsibility to do. It's just a disastrous proposal. Really hope that Donald Trump changes his mind on that one.